everybody to our second meeting. If you weren't here the last time, I'm Margaret Higginbotham, the president. Our officers are over here in the corner with our WIKS shirt. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce you guys to our speaker today, Miss Aileen Bennett. She's
Aileen.
Aileen, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's like Cajun accent. And then I can upload. You want to do your HDMI? Take over?
Yeah,
I'm just gonna do everything after the housekeeping.
Just plug it into my HDMI. It's a Mac.
I don't know how to work it. I'll let you.
Return of Mac. Yeah.
So she was like, do you want me to send you your slides? And I'm like, I work on a Mac. You should want
Okay.
I lie, you can't use this.
Oh,
Sorry.
do you need a
I've got an adapter.
Okay, well, why don't we wait?
Yeah, you chat. I forget that PCs exist. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'll just have to say
I'm a designer. I use a Mac all the time.
while we do that.
How's your Android?
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, oops. Sorry, let me go back. So, one of the advisors, Miss Amy Gross, generously offered her time to do a BLS class. Unfortunately, we can only do 10 people in this class. So I would like to give priority to people who have paid dues already, and it'll be a first come, first served basis, especially those in this class. So that'd be really cool. If for some reason you can't come, just let us know so we can get somebody else in your spot. It will be $10 a person. That just covers the cost of your card, just so that.
Does anybody not know what that is?
So BLS is basic life support, where you learn CPR and all that fun thing. Choking, I think choking is one of them.
You learn how to
stuff like
choke.
that. Yeah, well, no, you learn how to save someone from choking.
Only $10.
Heimlich maneuver, all that fun stuff. Did you get your cord?
Yes.
Right, then we can cover the rest after. Or, yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
As you can tell, I'm fairly informal.
We're very flexible. We can go over here.
Does anyone know my password?
Beans and toast.
Come in. So I'm not just going to run through this. If you need to interrupt, if you want to talk about something else, that's absolutely fine. Like, my job's just to make you believe you can do anything. If you already believe that, we can just go. You're good? You all believe you can do anything? Awesome. We're done then. My name, as you saw, my name is Aileen Bennett. I never know what to say I do anymore. I have this really weird life. I'm an illustrator. I have a new book coming out next week that I didn't write, that I only illustrated. I have a book I'm going to talk to you about that came out last September that I wrote and illustrated. I've written a few books. I've illustrated lots of books. I do that. I'm a speaker, travel around the country, giving speeches, and I basically do whatever Brian asked me to do. And that's the main thing, that life is all about the connections you make. Like, I've been turning down every speech in September. I took a month off from all my clients, told them all to just leave me alone, and I've been drawing pictures because it's fun. And he messaged me and said, can you do this? And it's like, yeah, sure. Because he's one of those people you always say yes to. So I wrote a book. It's a very little book, and it's called A Little Book About Fire. It's a little book about fire. And this came out, normally in this bit I'm telling you why I did the book, because everyone knows about the book already, but you guys don't, so at some point we're telling you why I did the book. But basically it's a mostly illustrated book, less than 300 words in the whole book. But there's an animation. It's not completely sorted yet, so you're seeing a beta version of the animation. So I can, oh yeah, sorry, I meant to do this, to talk about sparks, burning desires, and all the things that make us most human, most happy, and most successful. And I know you're in a weird world where everyone's like, study, academics, that's all fine, but being happy is kind of fine too. And you're gonna enter the world, you already entered the world, but you're in a world where you can do anything you Like literally my job today was drawing a blue crawfish. Like you can do anything. Oh, and that actually moved, look at that. Okay. So you'll be able to hear this?
A little book about fire.
Can you hear that?
Sorry, a little film about fire. Some people have a little fire somewhere inside. It doesn't show up on x-rays, and it can't be seen glowing at night, except when it can. It fuels a drive, an energy, a tendency to shine, even beneath an overcoat, or hiding at the back of a room. Sometimes it rains. It drizzles for days. It pours. And yet, the fire is still there. Every so often, it gets out of hand and overwhelming everything. Is that how forest fires start? Sometimes the flame hides, staying teeny tiny for years, no more than a barely glowing ember that hasn't given up but doesn't offer warmth. It's taken for granted and ignored, while the people with the fire inside find comfort in safer things that don't burn. One day, they question where their fire went, forgetting that it burns brightest when it's fed knowledge, love, and fun, and tries new things, especially new things, and old things that are new. The embers glow, hidden from the world. The embers grow, hidden from the person. Then, just at the right time, the flame explodes into life. Sometimes it explodes slowly. And the best bit is remembering who they were, remembering who they are. The people who have this little flame often recognize others with this heat burning inside. They can see the fire in other people because they can feel it in themselves. When they fan the flames of their own fire, the sparks start little fires inside others. The end, and also the beginning.
And that's the entirety of my book. I don't really know how you get to write a book that short and get it published. Let me actually. This. Okay. Let's talk about the last few years. From like 2020 onwards. How crazy has it been?
Pretty great.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it from your point of view. What's happened?
Global pandemic.
Global pandemic, which affected you, your schooling, and loads of activities you looked forward to your entire life. And some of you are still mad about those like things you've missed and you could never get back, and you're always going to be those people. What else has changed? Politics? Kind of crazy. Whichever side you're on, doesn't matter. It's crazy. The world is ending, right? Do you ever just think, oh, what's the point? Like the world's just, I don't want to go out there into that crazy world because, like, how am I going to do what I want to do anyway? Because
The cost of things.
the cost, oh Jesus, the cost of things. Like, how are you ever going to pay back college? How are you ever going to do any of that? And the world is, and I mean, I go into businesses and use this slide, and they tell me, like, you know, and their generation's different, they're to work from home, and now their bosses won't trust them to work from home. Like, can you imagine being sent home now, do all your work, oh, we love what you're doing, oh no, now you have to come back to the office. We don't trust you anymore. So there's a lot of that going on. Work has changed because of that. You can't really go backwards, so like, people want more freedom now. And your generation are stepping up and going, no, we're not just going to do like stupid stuff for bad pay. Thank you. Thank you. And we're not going to work long hours for the privilege of it. And wait, you're making all the money and we're getting paid crap? Like, no. And but all of that would have happened anyway over a much longer period of time. But when everything changed anyway, it like advanced all of that stuff. And I say politics is crazy. Social media is crazy with people arguing. People have such different views and think they shouldn't get on because of them. And this is the world you're going into. Yay. I found some quotes. A sense of impending apocalypse. Yeah? feeling that the political system has spun out of control and is no longer able to deal with society. Recognise that? This is an interesting one. The United States has entered a period of surprising isolation. Racial tensions and violence are at an all-time high. The presidents will neither comment on it nor condemn it. The general public is concerned about the ties between the US and Russia. The government has begun to attack on suspected radicals and immigrants. Consequently, civil liberties are threatened. The president himself, reflecting the national mood of worry and panic, has admitted in private, the world is on fire. My motivational speeches are great, aren't they? One more. By December the 31st, I was literally too pessimistic to say Happy New Year. Bloody motivational speakers, they're rubbish at this. Let me tell you what years these quotes are from. That first one is from 1348. The year of 1348. The second one was from 1893, 1919, and 1968. The world has always been on fire. We've always been sold this. You just happen to live in a world of 24-hour news and social media. You are being told to be scared. It's how they make money. They are feeding you fear. It's how you're going to listen to them. They're making most of it up. They're not sitting home, and when I say they, it doesn't matter who you think of, but they're not sitting home being scared. But if they can get you all scared enough, you stop following your dreams and sit at home anxious about stuff. Your generation, for all the freedom you're going to have, are more anxious than any other generation. Because we grew up in a world where there wasn't 24-hour news. There was news when stuff happened, and maybe, 3 times a day. But suddenly, they had 24-hour news and they had to fill it. But no one wants to listen to good news. So they just made up stuff, and they told you stuff about like tiny things happening, really rare things, but they made them so everybody knew about them. And then we all got scared and we watched it more. You all know those people that watch, whatever TV show they watch, but it fills them with fear, and then they watch more, and then they watch more. Don't fall for it. You can understand politics, you can be educated enough to know which side you want to vote for. But don't get into that cycle of that fear that's taken away from your own hopes and dreams and things you want to achieve. Because it's just, one of these is from 1348. What was the big fear when you were this age, Brian?
A big fear?
Was it nuclear? What was it?
Oh, that's the Cold War.
Cold War?
Russia
Russia was going to bore you. They were taught to hide under their desks to protect them from the nuclear attack. Because those desks would have been really great in that. We had, I went on marches against the campaign for nuclear disarmament. We marched through London because nuclear weapons were going to kill us any moment. And then the London papers are still full of that because Russia threatens to bomb London on a regular basis because it can reach London, it can't reach you guys yet. But it's always happened. You just have more of it because you have it for 24 hours. You have it on little devices you carry. You have it from so many different sources. So yes, you have more of it, but it's always been that way. I promise. The world has always been on fire. And it's also always been a kind of cool place that you can survive in. So when you find, my husband, I'm not good at this, my husband sometimes goes, Aileen, walk away from the computer. Because you just get pulled into it sometimes. So that's why you need the things you want to do. Spend your time doing those. Spend your time, you're in this amazing place, spend your time learning, spend your time doing that. The moment you find yourself get zoomed down to that negativity, when there's just that sense of impending doom that you're carrying around with you, remind yourself, they felt like that in 1348 and 1893. It's always been that way. The great thing about then is most people wouldn't read in 1348, so they didn't know to be scared. They didn't hear what was happening in the next town over, let alone the city, let alone across the world. It's crazy. And I'm an immigrant, but I'm a white immigrant. So it's really interesting for me to walk that line, because I'm the English immigrant. Oh, we don't think of you as an immigrant. And yet, when I was in New York 2 weeks ago, and every cab I get into is another immigrant, and they see me the same, and they tell me their real stories. So I live in this world of privilege, and also in this other world of, I'm not from here. But it's, you've got to just get fascinated by it, get interested in it, but don't get scared. Because all that does is keep you playing small. When we get anxious, when we get scared, our dreams get smaller. And then we don't do the stuff that we want to do. See, it wasn't as bad as you thought, was it? The most shocked one was Brian at the back. He was like, and I'm sure you were thinking, like, what is she doing to my class?
Trust you unconditionally.
Uncertainty. It's there all the time. It's always going to be uncertain. There are 3 things you can do. You can be scared a lot, forever. You can be scared and do it anyway. So you can do the things you want to do. You can do them scared. Being scared is not an excuse for inaction. You can acknowledge you're scared and do it anyway. Or you can thrive in uncertainty. And they're like, I have no idea what's going to happen. How cool is that? Because we literally don't know. And so you have to, what you want to get to is a place where you're fine with it. In fact, it's like, yeah. So anything could happen. People always say, oh, like, especially in London, they say, you could get hit by a bus on the way home. That's their doom. And you're like, but also, something amazing could happen. We literally don't know, and you have to find a way in your head to embrace that. Because you are never, ever going to know. Even those of you that have all your life goals written down perfectly, like the books say, and are working through them and checking them off, we have no way to know what's going to happen in the next minute. So that's kind of part of life, and you just need to learn to embrace it. Like, I work for myself, you see, I do like 5 different things, but it's kind of cool. I never quite know what I'm going to be doing next month. I know I'm going to McAllen, Texas, somewhere near the border. Hopefully the pilot knows where it is, and I'm going to do a speech there. That's the only thing I have booked at the moment, but I also know it's going to be fine. I've got plenty of drawing to do, and I've got lots of projects I want to do, and I like that balance. I like knowing some things and not knowing other things. Because after a while, once you get as old as I am, you have this evidence, like, I have always been okay so far. I haven't starved to death yet. I haven't, like, been homeless. I've always made it. So then you have this overwhelming evidence. Like, do you remember when you guys were applying for college? Do you remember how scary some of that was? And now you're here like, so that's all gone. You know, like, you're just like, yeah. But there was a day that you got a letter and you're like, yes, I got it. And that was exciting, and you got used to it so quickly that you forget about that bit. And the next thing you do will be exciting, and you'll forget about it. And the next thing, and then you'll forget about it. Because that's just how people are. But the uncertainty, I mean, you really, that first day, do you remember your first day at college? All the uncertainty. But it was okay because everyone else around you was uncertain too. But it's like that everywhere. Everyone in the world is uncertain. So we're all in this together all of the time. And I know it looks like we all know what we're doing, and everyone else has got it, and everyone else understands it. It doesn't. I meant to say, interrupt with any questions you like during this because, right, I told you, it's your speech, not mine. But also, it's kind of more fun. And always be the person that asks questions. If you're thinking of something going, I'd like to ask that, someone else is thinking the same thing. Be the person that asks the questions. Because you don't know when I go into a meeting tomorrow and I'm thinking about someone in here that asked a question. And they're like, oh, we need someone. And I know the person. You don't know how that works. Like, I have turned down every speech this month. Professor Campbell asked me, and I just say yes. Why? We have a friendship. Can I call it a friendship? Public?
How you doing?
Not that kind of friendship. But we have and he has been so, I see him being so generous to everyone that he's the kind of guy you say yes to. And there were a few people like that. Whatever I was doing, I would move to say yes. And I'm guessing most people say yes to you.
I appreciate that, but I don't ask often.
No, he doesn't. He asks like if he needs something, and he finds a way to repay it. So the first time I met with him, you know all the stuff he does for kinesiology, you know all that stuff. Very early on, I don't know how anyone knew me, but he asked to go to lunch with me. And give him some ideas about how to make this tiny thing he was doing into this massive thing that it is now. And I went to lunch and I gave them some ideas and loved them instantly. And you know how his sports memorabilia is a big deal. He gets all these like footballers to sign. And at that lunch, he asked me about sport. Now, obviously, American football, as I still call it, not really my thing. Country music, people, definitely not my thing. But he found out enough about me that I like surfing. And he found an autograph on a little card by Kelly Slater, who's like the best surfer in the world. Now, he went out of his way. He didn't have one of those at home. He couldn't go down and wait by something. He contacted someone who contacted him. I don't know what happened, but anyway, he went out of his way to do that. Still on my desk, right next to me. And it's great having Kelly's autograph, but the real thing is like, am I going out of my way to be kind? To listen to those little things about people and do something they want. And my little Kelly Slater, he's just retired again. And he's just a baby. Do any of you know who Kelly Slater is? No. He's the best athlete America's ever had. He's won the World Surfing Championship 11 times. And he's kind of good looking too. But it doesn't hurt, right? So uncertainty, please embrace it. You're going to have to live with it. You can make it terrifying and you can be scared for the rest of your life. But that's not going to get you what you want. Do you all have crazy things that you want? I like that. I'll come to that slide later. Goals. I'm sure you've all heard about SMART goals. I have to look them up these days. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. All of your goals should be that. Forget it. Your goals should make you happy. I had a friend recently, and it's actually a he, but I changed this picture to Dave because I was talking to a women's group. And he'd set some really big goals and achieved them. He's doing really, really well. Part of a startup, doing amazingly. He's into AI, one of the experts in the world. And he said, I sat down a few years ago, and every course I'd been on, and he'd been through all these accelerators like those techie people do. And he said, I forgot to put my life in there. And now he wants more time with his kids. And he wants to do more fun stuff. They hadn't allowed for his life. He wanted to have some fun sometimes. And he's super successful. But when he said that to me, I was like, yeah, that's how I feel. It's fine having goals, but one day you're going to go, did I only do this? Put in your happiness. Put in the crazy things that make you smile. Because we live in a world where there are people who have careers unboxing toys. You can do anything. And the thing that most of you won't get yet, you'll have all these weird things that you like, and one day they'll all come together. At the moment you think, right, I want to do this, and it's a straight line. Oh, but I really like this. And then you'll become this strange expert that has both of these things. So follow those things that you're curious about. Because you don't know, they might all come together. And it's weird, we pick up all these things and then we go, oh, we don't have a proper career path, panic, panic, panic. But if you're collecting things you love to do and learning from them, then it will all come together. At different times, maybe not all at once, it might be a complete mess for a while, I'm not going to lie to you. But if you're having fun, that's okay, because it's all uncertain anyway. Keep telling it's all going to be okay, but it really just is, I promise. If it's not okay, I'll give you your money back. This is something familiar to all of you. I don't do kinesiology, obviously. I don't even know if this is accurate. It's from a photo thing. But most of the stuff in our bodies, we know what it does, right? There's a reason for it being. I know there's still a few things we're not completely sure about. Most of the stuff in our bodies, you know what it does. So why would you have the hopes and the dreams and the things that you want to do if you weren't meant to do them? How many people's dream is a nice house with a white picket fence and a new car every year? Funny that. These aren't things that have been sold to you. They're not what the advertisers tell you. You guys are too smart for that. But you all have these things. You might see it one day. And you hear about those kids that, you know, as a 3-year-old, they're like, I was watching ballet. And then I knew instantly I wanted to be a ballet dancer. Or I saw this. We know some things. They're there for a reason. Otherwise, it would just be a weird, cool trick, wouldn't it? So if there's something that fascinates you, find out more about it. I literally just spend an hour of my day reading about sardines. Well, I thought it was a book about sardines. It was called The Eloquence of the Sardine. And I learned in the first chapter, so what I've read so far, I learned more about whales communicating than I did sardines. And this was like literally, I stopped for an hour, had a cup of tea and read a book about sardines. I learned that whales, this was this afternoon, I learned that whales, they're like literally their sound can travel thousands of miles. And it travels because it travels between the warm water and the cool water. And it travels on, yeah, obviously. It travels on this vibrational level. But this book also mentions that there's a whale, and I need to look this up and find out more about it. I'm sure there's a whole book about it, who they kind of refer to as the loneliest whale in the world. They've heard his sound, and it's much lower than other whales. They think he might be deaf. And so he can't hear the sound, so he can't communicate 2 ways. And he might never have met another whale. Now I'm like, oh, kids' book. Like, oh, should I draw a kids' book on whales? But it's like, I was just fascinated. And I thought I was reading a book about sardines. My poor husband walks in and I'm like, did you know? But that's the way I like those weird things. I will read this entire book about sardines. If it ever is about sardines, I don't know. But for some reason, and I will get some ideas from that for something creative, or I would do that. So it's part of my job. I get to read weird stuff that I like. But it's also part of everyone's job. You can always be fascinated about things. Because you'll pick up all sorts of things and you don't know. I might end up doing a book. Can you imagine the loneliest whale in the world? But it has a happy ending. Because he doesn't meet the other whales, but he has lots of friends that are fish. Or something. I haven't watched it out yet, it was only this afternoon. Sometimes you just need to look at things from a different perspective. I found this on the internet one day and I watched it like 8 times. Oh, there's no connection. This is, you can look it up when you get home. This is a view of someone juggling from above. And it is the weirdest thing. So when you're bored later, you go, what did that woman say? Something about Harry Potter. But if you can remember juggling, look this up when you get home. I forgot to connect. So sometimes you just need to look either more in depth or look at the big picture. And it's a great way to kind of refocus yourself. Like I said, I was about to say, I get really curious about things, but I think you might already know that. So that's my reset when I'm too stressed, when the world is crazy, when I'm doubting myself, which I do. There's normally a day each week where I'm completely convinced I can't draw. It's literally what I do for a living. I'm convinced that I'm like the worst artist in the world, and I just look at my pictures and go, no, these are terrible, at least once a week, probably more. And that happens, and then I have to reset. And you have to find your own way to reset. I reset by getting curious about things, by reading books on sardines. That isn't yet about sardines, I'm a bit disappointed. But one day, about 6 months ago, I found out that people can smell ants. There are people who can smell ants. And I think I just posted it on Facebook straight away. And like, people are used to me. They didn't react much. But one person wrote, I wrote, TIL, people can smell ants. And one person on my wall wrote, today I learned that some people can't smell ants. And I was like, oh my God. And apparently different ants smell differently. And it's a thing. It's, can anyone here smell ants?
Never tried.
Okay, if I didn't know that, what else don't I know? And so now when I see ants, I'm like, I do try it. I sit on the ground and I'm like, I think my dog can smell ants, he's pretty good, but different ants have different smells. And if we've gone through our whole life as, I'm getting above average intelligent people because we're in a university right now, and we didn't even know that was a thing. Imagine what we don't know. And I'm like old and I didn't know, and Brian's not as old as me, but he's getting up there, and he didn't know. And some people literally messaging me going, yeah, like especially after a rainstorm, you can really smell them, and like different species of ants smell different, and there are some that really smell. So when you just like find your reset, my reset is to be fascinated about things. I literally spent my morning before I drew a crawfish I have I guess it's a vending machine, you know those ones with little balls in and they drop down, filling it with golden dinosaurs. And I'm a perfectly good career woman, fairly successful with my own house, and I spent my morning in my art studio, so now I have a vending machine where you can put 50 cents in and get a golden dinosaur. Huh? Well, no, they're plastic. They're coloured gold, not actually plastic. And they're not like they're not life size. Which I clarified to my husband when I told him I'd ordered 100 golden dinosaurs. I said, but they're not life size. But like, sometimes you need that craziness. And I know you can all sit here and pretend you're all proper and you're academic and you're doing all this, but you all have craziness too. And that's where the fun comes in. And I say, you're going into a world where literally some of the careers you're going to have not been invented yet. Think back 10 years ago, half the stuff people do now. You can literally make your living doing anything in the world. Oops. Okay. Why are these in the wrong order? I know some of you write your goals out, which is the slide before this, which I've kind of skipped. It's fine to write your goals out. It's fine to write down as much as you can, to plan. Absolutely, go for it. But also spend some time every day being brave and daydreaming. Like, it can be a 5-minute daydream. Think of what you want and imagine it happening. And I'm not even lying here. It's magical. It actually comes true. Thoughts are things. If you think about something, it might be differently every day. You might be driving to work, might be a particular piece of, like, you know, something you put on a piece of music, and it reminds you, like, yeah, one day when I'm working for the Dallas Cowboys or whoever, whatever you want to do, imagine it. Because what happens in your brain is your brain doesn't know what's real and what's not. It just doesn't. It doesn't know, like, that's why we get scared. It doesn't know what's perceived and what's real. Because we can all spiral down and imagine terrible things happening. I'm particularly good at that. So, but your brain doesn't know, so then it gets anxious. It's like, we're worried about all this stuff. So spend some time doing the opposite and just imagining whatever the peak of your life you want it to be. And there's no good and no bad. It's not like the higher you aim, the better. It might be something fairly simple. Imagine it. All that your teacher's telling you off for daydreaming. Do it every day. You don't have to do it at a particular time. It's not one of those things. Unless, do you know what habit stacking is? Habit stacking, you're going to hear a lot about this when you go out into that really weird world. Habit stacking is the best way to start a new habit. Okay, do something you already do and add something on. So you clean your teeth in the morning, you brush your teeth. You clean your teeth, which do you do? I don't know. You brush your teeth. You brush your teeth in the morning. Then you could be thinking about what you want your career to be like. You add the habit onto something you do because you're not going to forget to brush your teeth. Does that make sense? Rather than say, oh, it's a new habit out of nowhere. Habit stack. If there's something, you walk here, they could, you could do something, think about something on the way. Habit stacking is the San Francisco thing they're all doing now. But it just makes complete sense because why wouldn't you? Talking about habits. Sorry. Habits are really good things to have. When I was your age, I was like, I'm not getting any habits. I got habits and routines slightly confused in my head and thought routine was bad because I was going to be an artist. Actually, I was going to be a designer. But I was like, I was too cool for that. I was at art college in in England, and I was too cool to have any kind of routine. And eventually you realize it actually is a good thing. You know that your fitness people, when you get up and you work out straight away, it's better for you because you're never going back to doing it during the day. You know those days? So habits are important, but make them fun habits. Don't just write a list of things you don't want to do. You're not going to do them. There might be one thing you have to do. There's a book, very famous book called Eat the Frog, and they always say, do the worst thing first. Whatever you don't want to do that day, do it first. Eat the frog. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. But sometimes you want to have some fun. Then eat the frog in the afternoon. You have to eat the frog at some point. But you can do it any time during the day. But the more you actually have good habits, the less you worry about. You won't have to. How many of you are to-do list people? How many of you write things on your to-do list you've already done? And then cross them off? I'd like to tell you I don't, but yes, I completely do. And then I throw them away when they get messy and I have to start a new to-do list. And there's things I haven't done for months, but they're still on the to-do list. And make a to-do list is often on them. Take pleasure in all the things you do. Those of you who never write a to-do list, take pleasure in that. There's no right way to do it. You're going to sit through a lot of lectures in your life, especially when you get out to business. They're going to bring people like me in who are going to tell you this is the way to do it, and this is the way to do it. And that's how they make their money. They say what you've been doing is wrong. We're going to put a new system in, and it's all going to make you work more. Don't worry about it. Don't find the way to hack your own brain. Work out what works best for you. This week I'll probably stand and go, right, every morning you should, every night before you go to bed you should make a to-do list. And now I'm like, watch a movie, relax. Because it just, find the way it works for you. I have this way of doing, I'm known, I guess, for my creative ideas. So lots of companies bring me in just for my ideas. They'll give me some information and I'll drive and have a meeting with them and I give them ideas. It's kind of fun. But I have a way, they don't know this, taking all the information they give me, and then I go and have a cup of coffee and a nap. And when I wake up, I have ideas. But I've taught my brain to do that. And actually, it sounds weird having a cup of coffee. The best nap you'll ever have is coffee nap. Because the coffee's going to take 32 minutes to kick in. And then the caffeine wakes you up. It's beautiful. But that works for me. You have to find the thing that works for you, because we're human people. I got my life down to a Venn diagram, because I'm still geeky, but I'm creative. This is on my wall, this is what I need. I tend to be over here too much, but I need the discipline too. And if I get both of these balanced, then this is the most fun. You can take it, but work out your own diagram for your life. Work out what it is that drives you. And if I have too much just routine and discipline, then I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? So I have to have both. And I'm older now. My wild adventures probably aren't nearly as wild as I was when I was young. And my nephews the other day, they FaceTimed me from Korea. And 3 of them had just met up there and they're all traveling. And I was just like, God, could I do that now? But I did it at a time before the internet, when you didn't know where you were going. And so what I did was just as crazy as what they're doing. So, and they're all different. That's what I love about them. There's 3 of them there. One has been traveling for 5.5 months. and wants to continue traveling for as long as he can. He's an artist and illustrator, so he picks up work and his idea is, how long can I travel for? One of them, been there for a month, and he's just like, no, I want to look forward to my weekends. I want a job and I want to have weekends off because this not having a routine is killing me. And he'd been out for a month and he was just like, I can't be on vacation all the time, I hate it. The other one was kind of in between, he's only 21 and he loves to travel, but he takes his washing home to his mum in England once a month. Like he was in Singapore and flying to do his washing, which seems crazy, but that's how he wants it. And I was really fascinated by how different they all are, but how they've worked out, this is how I want to do this. And when you do that, work out the easiest way for it to happen. Not, I want to pass all my courses at university, but I want to wait till the last minute and get really stressed. Maybe not that. It will probably work, but you'll always have that thing, I could have done better. And you don't want to live with that. Trust me, I really believed for many years, obviously it's like cool art student, I really believed I would die at 25 and everyone would talk about how wonderful my potential was, so I never actually had to do anything. And that didn't happen. And eventually you have to do it. But it's kind of cool. And I know some of you are like, oh, well, I'll just dial it in. And that will become your habit. And you don't want to just dial it in. You want to be, like I said earlier, be the person that asks questions. Be the person that gets really fascinated. Be the person that, especially women, ignore this, Brian. Right, there's only women in this room. They're going to underestimate you. We know what it's like out there. They're going to underestimate you. Constantly. They're going to think you should be quieter. You should play smaller. What you do, I do too, you smile to yourself and you say, underestimate me, this will be fun. Because you know that they're doing that, which gives you the power. Because they don't know they're doing that. It's so ingrained, they don't think of it like that. If there's 3 of you in a room and you're working somewhere next, oh, go make some coffee. You just think to yourself, underestimate me, this will be fun. You don't have to shout, you don't have to do that, but you don't ever put down your potential to fit into someone else's box. And one day you're going to be like working, some guy's going to be like, do you know, read a thing recently, if there's a job description, say there's 10 things on the job description, if a female can't do 3 of them, they don't apply. If a man can do 2 of them, they apply. And obviously, if I was talking, so you don't know stuff like this.
Well, my major, y'all, they know the story, you know the story. My major professor was a female. I worked women's sports. I thought I had a certain understanding, and then it just, I learned that ants have smell. You know, it's.
Be fascinated by it, watch it, but don't play small to fit in somebody else's box. If it's your own box, there's not much I can do about it, because eventually you'll make it bigger anyway. But you don't have to do anything big. You don't have to speak, because if women get emotional, if men cry, oh look, he cried, oh Lord, oh, I feel really, women cry, oh no, we're just emotional bitches. Oh, I don't know, she's really emotional, I don't know if we can have her work in here. It's not the same. But the fact that you understand it's not the same, and yet you know of what you're capable of. You don't play small, but you don't need to stand up for every woman, because we sometimes think we have to do that. We have to get really like, no, you can't do that. You're asking me to make the coffee because I'm a woman. First time you're going to make the coffee. Next time, make sure someone else makes the coffee. Because we know how awkward it is, because you can't call men on being sexist, because what if they're not, what if they are, and oh love, don't worry about it, and they'll just put their arms around you. That's when you just, in your head, you said, underestimate me, this will be fun. You're going to need that phrase, believe me. And when I first got here, I used to stand up for myself and say, I'm not from here, don't do that. I used to say the same about racist jokes. If they started telling a joke and I realised it was going to be racist, I would say, oh, no, you can't do that in front of me, I'm not from here. And now I'm mad at myself for that, because I should have just said, you can't do that. Not with me, you can't do it. Does that make sense? Now I would just go, no, I'm not listening to this, sorry. But I came from a place that was completely different. And so when I first came here, I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. And you know you're in the deep south. What happens here doesn't, I mean, it's got better. I've been here 20 years, it's got better. But it's still kind of crazy. And especially us, the white people here, it's so easy, or it used to be so easy to pretend it wasn't happening. The good thing about the politics these days is you can't pretend it's not happening. And we're all far more aware of it. And we all get to stand up just a little bit. You don't have to be a martyr, but you have to work out where your line is and stay by your line. And it's hard at work because men do say, oh, she's emotional. Oh, she's from Europe. You know what their politics are like. I get that all the time. Apparently I come from I don't know what the word is, like, because we have like healthcare. I don't even understand the world because like, you would just have healthcare and we'll let immigrants in, it's fine. I mean, there are problems everywhere, but it's, you know, stand up for your beliefs, work out what they are, where your line is, and stand up for them. And you're not going to have to shout, and you never need to do that, but just in your head, Brian.
So that made me think of, and I just wanted to see if you could touch on it for the girls. Sometimes we get so much advice on things, like let's say interviews, that you feel like you go into that interview like a robot. They're gonna say this, and I have to say this, and I have to, and one of the things that
because when I was your age, I would play that game. And you can't but know it's a game. If they say, what's your biggest weakness? And you've learned something to say that's a positive, not really a weakness, and you play the game. These days, well, I guess I work for myself and my career's a bit different, I would say, really? We're playing that question, are we? And I would question whether I wanted to work there for people that do that for interviews. I would also realise they don't know much about interviews. Interviews, sometimes they try and put you in a stressful situation. They're only good if the job is going to put you in a stressful situation. Because they're testing how you work under stress. These ones are like, you know, the Silicon Valley ones that I read avidly about. They're like crazy. They ask you to do crazy things. And these days, you guys have to go, do I want to work for a company that's treating me like this already? There are people that go, right, I'm going to make you turn up at this time, and I'm going to leave them in a room for 2 hours. And see, like, and if anybody leaves, they didn't really want to be here. No, leave. Because if they're treating you like that in an interview, what are they going to be like to work for? But you have to also remember, a lot of them, their interview skills are, we ask these questions. Some of them are trick questions. Like, look at them all and say, why would you want to be tricking someone in an interview? That makes no sense. The bit you can control is the questions you ask. You know, when they get to the end, they're going to go, do you have any questions? Open your notebook if it's not already open. Have some questions. Like, why is this position open? What did the last person who did this position? Where are they now? Like, good questions that show that you care. Look at the company, because the reason these interviews are so bad half the time is because the interviewers just met with 20 people, half of whom are late, half of whom are dressed right, and know nothing about the company. So you do your research. Most of that is looking at their website, looking at some things they've done. When they said, why do you want to work here? Well, I saw you were involved with this. I saw this project you've done and I thought that sounded really cool. You know, whatever it is, do your work first. But remember that interviews are two-way. You're deciding where you're going to put a lot of your time and energy and skills. So ask them questions. You're interviewing them too. And if they don't like you, like the more you're yourself, if they don't like you, fine. Not the right place for you. it's kind of that simple, really. Be who you are. And it's hard, you kind of, tell me what you want to do. Somebody, be brave. Tell me what you want to do when you leave here. Say it again. Nice. What are they going to ask you in the interview? I feel like you could do that now. It's just like, I'm ready. But you wouldn't have, but you'd look more enthusiastic. Learn about body language. Learn about all that stuff, because people skills are the most important. What I often teach is how to read people. And not that weird stuff, but like where their eyes look. Like, do you know that when you're making a picture, everyone imagine the front door at home. Imagine your front door. Can you all see a picture of it? Where is it? Point to it. Oh, it's slightly up and in front of you, yeah? Pretend you're talking on the phone. However you do it, they say, I nearly went like that. No, that's not how we talk on the phone. Pretend you're talking on the phone, pretend you're having a conversation. Where do your eyes go? They normally go to one side or the other, because when people are thinking about auditory things, that's where they go. When people are thinking about feelings, their eyes go down. It's like the more you can learn about reading people, the more it becomes instinctive. But people will literally tell you what they're thinking. And because we're not listening in the right way, they will say things like, I can't see that happening. And they're telling you, I cannot make a picture of that. And when you hear that, you go, okay, let's focus in on this. Because if they're looking up, okay, it's not part of this speech. So I'll do this quickly. Visual people, they breathe from up here, which means, you guys should know this, they speak faster because they have less breath. They're the ones that make things sound exciting. They just park their car in the parking lot and they'll come in, they'll tell you a story about it. But because they speak like this, it sounds exciting. They're using their hands up here a lot and they're looking up when they're thinking. How many of you have got kids? Or no kids? Ask them a question, or tell them to look like they're thinking, and they will go, every kid. I don't know why we're not taught this. So if we're looking at pictures, have you ever said something, look like you're thinking? They mean look up. Look at me. And that's not how people think all the time. So visual people are going to be up here. Everything's fast because their breath is shallow. In the middle, we have auditory people. Auditory people breathe from the middle. They breathe up and down. And they like sound. What we call them auditory people. They will often look towards their ears. They care how a word sounds. They won't say, oh, I can't see that happening. They'll say, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't ring a bell. They will say things about sounds. And they care about sounds going up and down. Okay, and they'll breathe here. And often their hands will only be in a box in front of them. They won't be these people. They'll be very different. Often, if you're in a room and they're listening to you, they will have turned away because they are paying attention with their ear. So sometimes when you're talking to people and you'll all be in positions where you're talking to people, we like the visual people because the visual people look at us and they nod and we make eye contact. And then, so auditory people, people that like sound mostly, will just turn away from you. We've also got a subset called auditory digital. Do not change your body language. This is auditory digital. These are the people that like lists, spreadsheets. Yeah, but information in an order. Yes. And what's going on here, anyone that's touching their face in any way is having a little conversation with themselves. Really? Do I do that? Do it? Is that right? Oh. So if anyone's touching like here, even like that, they're like, really? When I do that, is that what I'm doing? And sometimes, especially on guys, you can see these little muscles moving. And you know, in a position, there's no point me keep giving you information right now because you're not listening to me, you're chatting to yourself. But it's like, and that's it, but that's fine when you've just given people new information. Anyway, this is fine. They're literally on a phone to themselves. Do I do that? So it makes, oh, is that what I'm doing now? Oh, it is. Then you have kinesthetic people. I never get to talk about this. And they literally breathe from down here because it's about feelings. So they tend to have lower, slower voices. They're those weird people that will think before they answer a question. You know, the visual person's asked 5 more questions, and the kinesthetic person's like, they're going to look down here because feelings. Think about it. We say things are looking up, I'm feeling down. And we all know this. If we walk into a room somewhere and someone is sitting like this, what do we think? They're going to have a lot of feelings. And we all do this really, really natural thing that in the business we call it pacing and leading. So if somebody, can you look really sad like that? You just lean forward like you're sad. We don't come in and go, hey, what's wrong? We don't do that as human beings. What we do is we get down, we normally change our breath, we just don't notice that, but we speak slower and lower. Hey, okay. And then what we do naturally as people is we gradually kind of come up and she follows us. It's a kind of a dance we do. And then it's like, things are looking up. And we do it, you can watch people doing this, and it's a very, very natural thing to do. But for some reason, we're never told this stuff. I didn't get told this stuff until I just realised it wasn't my company. Somebody snuck me into a training in their company that I wasn't meant to be at, and for advanced presentation skills. And they told us something. I was like, why are we not telling 7-year-olds this? Because you could also then work out the way you like to learn best. Do you want to see things? Do you want to hear things? Do you want to hear and see things at the same time? Like, I'm like, you might guess, quite visual. We all have all of them. We all do all of them, like, depending on what mood we're in and what environment we're in. If I want to make a picture, I have to make a picture and get a feeling at the same time. But we do amazing things. So if I asked you to imagine your favourite band or singer singing Happy Birthday, who could do that? I love him, look straight across. Tell us how you did it. She just went.
I mean, if it's your favorite, like, singer, you're gonna know exactly what they sound like, know their mannerisms, and just be able to, like...
So, did you get a picture of them first, or did you hear them first? Or did you get a feeling first?
Oh, I got, like...
Your picture? See where she put a picture? See? She's been doing that her whole life. This is where my picture is. I did a picture. If she'd gone, yeah, I've got a picture of them, we'd all think that was really weird. See, you got a picture of them first. Was it a still picture or a moving picture?
It was like a still, like, this is what the face looks like, and then the lips start moving, and then you hear what they're saying.
That's how amazing our brains are. She's like, well, yeah, you make a picture and then the lips start moving. That's not how who did it differently to that? And it's fine, there's no wrong or right answers. Who could hear them first without a picture? Yeah. See, some people are like, so you just imagine them playing that. Some people have to get, right, I get Happy Birthday, and then I put it over there with the band. And so it's like there's a million ways, but your brain works the same nearly all the time. So work out how it works. And this, if you ever look more into this, it's so obvious. No one hides this. A whole life she's been going, yes, I get a picture. And you laughed when I said the picture might be over there because we all know this innately. We do it all the time. We've just never been told about it. So, oh, sorry. No, which one? Oh, I don't know.
I was just gonna let you know, yes, I know.
We have to stop. Sorry, it went into a different thing because Brian's just like. But if you don't know what to get curious about people. Because you're probably going to have to deal with them for the rest of your life. And the more you know, the more I can come in and immediately switch. The great thing about being a speaker is you get to do all of them all the time. If you notice, and normally I do a thing if I'm in a bigger room, if I'm telling a story, I'm moving. If I'm giving facts, I stand still. And I don't tell anyone that, but the minute I stand still, everyone goes, this is a fact, not a story. Our minds are amazing things, so start noticing how other people's minds work, because if you know that person in the interview wants to know, oh, digital, he wants facts. You can normally tell by someone how they write an email. My emails are like, so, it's Wednesday and I was happy, and there's a whole story. And some people won't read that and just look for the bullet points at the end. They just want bullet points. As a speaker, they want you to say, in conclusion, or there are 3 things you should remember, and that's all they want. I was in a room full of accountants one day, and I'm there being a speaker, I'm telling my stories, nothing. No reaction, no laughs. And it suddenly dawned on me, it was really early in my speaking career, I went, is there anybody in this room that's not an accountant? And they went, no, we're accountants. Okay, so bullet points, and then you could see them visibly react. They just wanted the facts. And if somebody writes an email to you and it's got bullet points and they want facts, write it back like that. Because if someone shows, your job is to communicate in their way. I know that's not fair, but that's just the way it is. You've got the power. So listen to how people speak. Listen to what they're telling you. And you'll be able to now go, wow. So we know each other, we're on the same wavelength. Same wavelength. We see eye to eye. Whoa, this feels good. And it's so easy to pick up how they are speaking and acknowledge that. Don't tell them, but just speak. If they want facts, if they've been speaking to you in facts, if they're leaning on their arm, if they're doing this, if they're doing this with their hands, just give them facts. If they're doing this, tell them stories. If they're looking down, tell them how you're going to feel about it. But people are the most fascinating thing. I think let me just slip through the, I don't think there's anything important I'm going to say. I mean, of course I am. When your spark lights other people, you know how to start fires. I don't really need to tell you how to start fires. Fire. There. And that's for questions. Anyone have any questions?
What do you have to say about imposter syndrome?
Ha ha! I was going to give this book to the first person that asked the question that wasn't Ryan. I'm sorry, I did 3 times. I said, be the person that asks questions, right? I only got one and I'm sorry, but imposter syndrome. Yes, it's a real thing. Nearly everybody has it, especially women. Acknowledge to yourself that I tell you, there's at least 1 day a week I can't draw because suddenly I'm really useless at this and I can't draw pictures and I'm terrible and the world hates me and I'm the most untalented person in the whole world and I'm too fat and I'm too old and all of the things. Happens often. I have to realise that I make that stuff up in my head and so I don't have to believe it. Or you just do it anyway. I switch to answering emails and other jobs just to stay busy through that. But you have to acknowledge when you make stuff up in your head, and we all do it, we're all human, we make stuff up. If we walk down the hallway and one of our friends doesn't say hi, but we think they've seen us, the stories that go on in your head at that moment, well, they're like, they don't like me anymore. What did they do? Oh, what if so-and-so told them I said this? And we make up all these stories, and then we believe it, and the next time we see them, we're off with them. But none of it was true. So acknowledge that your imposter syndrome, you've made that up. And some days I have to go, oh, well, so maybe I can't draw, and we do it anyway. You've got the training. If it's really something you don't know, go find it out. But give yourself 10 minutes. You go, okay, let me believe that. Watch yourself spiral down. See how quickly you can get to dying in the gutter. And really, I don't know. You're going to make mistakes, it's fine. But that imposter syndrome, you can let it win if you want. You can sit, maybe have a sofa to sleep on in your 1-room house. There's drug addicts outside, rats on the floor. I mean, if you want to just, stop believing in yourself completely. Or you can go, yeah. Normally it's a sign. Do you remember that time I spoke to your class and I drew a big circle on the board? And I was like, right, you understand the body, which organ's this? And they all just looked at me like I was crazy. I said, it's your comfort zone. Normally you get imposter syndrome when you're near the edge of your comfort zone. And that's a good place to be. And I say, remember back to your first day at college. How many of you were nervous that first day? How many of you haven't thought about that first day since then? See? And it's fine. You're like, oh God, they're all going to be cleverer than me, and they're all going to be prettier than me, and they're all going to be skinnier than me, and they're all going to be better at sports than me, and they're all going to know how to answer really intelligent questions, and they're going to know how to take notes, and I'm going to be the worst one, and no one will me, and I'll sit at the back of the class, and I won't make any friends. Or something. Remember how many times you've gotten over it. It still happens. I'm not going to say once you get to this stage, it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. Just laugh at it. But if you give your imposter syndrome a voice that's really stupid, you can't draw. You're really bad at this. Nobody likes you. Do it in that voice, because it's just as stupid as that. And yeah, it's going to get to you. It's going to be part of it. But you get to choose. If somebody else tried to tell you you couldn't do it, can you imagine if someone else spoke to you the way you speak to yourself sometimes?
That is very powerful.
Yeah, so just imagine someone going, you're ridiculous, of course I can bloody do this. So just pretend someone else is saying it and get all bullshit about it. I don't know if bullshit is an American word, I don't even know.
Oh, I thought you said bullshit.
No, bullshit like sassy, like whatever. Whatever word that is. See? Professional speaker, and I don't have words. I'm like, I don't know what word I mean.
How is it, and I know we have to go,
Yeah.
but I'm just enthralled. How is it important for them to be themselves? You know, the being
It's literally my car license plate. I wrote a column for the local paper for 15 years called Be You. Because you can pretend, you can act like someone else, but you're never sure. If you just get to be yourself, like, it's taken me years to get my life as crazy as it is. I haven't had a proper job. I was a designer most of my life, always worked for myself. But like, what if I hadn't said some of the stupid things I said? I wouldn't have the jobs I have. What if people like you just exactly the way you are? What if the fact that I'm slightly obsessed with sardines at the moment gets me a job? Because you can always play it straight and play it normal, but it's your quirkiness and the things that are really you and the things that bring you alive that change things. Because one day you're going to see someone and go, oh my God, they get to do that and work on dinosaurs? I could have done that, but no one knows I like dinosaurs, or whatever it is. So be you, because the people that stand out are being themselves. But the best thing about, if I get to be me, then you get to be you. So the more you're individual, the more everyone else around you can relax. And that's all we really want. We want to be like, you don't into it like at school when you listen to the wrong music. Like, there isn't a wrong music. There isn't a wrong thing to wear. There isn't a wrong thing to like. And the more you just like the things you like and do the things you want to do, because otherwise you're just going to fake it through life and you're never going to have that security of knowing that you're okay exactly the way you are. And I can promise you, you are all not even okay the way you are, absolutely incredible the way you are. And I think your generation have probably got that more than any other generation's ever had. We're all like, take your 30s to find, take your 20s to find yourself, and then they did, and then the world complained. Find out what you like, find out who you want to be, because there are weird jobs out there and they need people to do them. Sorry for talking too long. Take his fault.
Can we do it?
I'll make the last part really quickly. Miss Aileen asked me how I wanted y'all to leave feeling, and I had said empowered and motivated. So maybe like whenever you get to the chance when you're applying for grad school, or you get a bad grade on your test and you're wearing like, you know, am I good enough? Is my GPA good enough to get into grad school? I hope there was something that she said that you can take with you in the future. So thank you so much. And we're just gonna go through some housekeeping and then we'll be on our way. I would like to take a group picture at the end too, so be safe for that.
She means me, right?
Yeah,
It's the worst bit.
for the Instagram, everything's for the gram.
Everything's for the gram. And don't believe the shit people put on there.
Okay, quick show of hands. I know I talked about this before. Who's interested in this BLS class? Okay. All right. Whenever we're done too, I'm gonna have a sheet of paper. We can write our names, and then that way I'll go off of that priority list for the first.
Does the 10, is that like you know how we pay 15?
Yeah.
Is that included?
No, this is just for the physical card because Miss Amy's just volunteering to do this, and that's just the cost of the card itself. So she's not charging us for the class, just for the card. That's why. It's not for us, it's just so you can get the card in the mail to be a certified BLS administrator, whatever it is. Okay. Sweatshirts. We will have sweatshirts. This is a really rough sketch of what it will look like. It'll be $25 per sweatshirt, obviously. Whenever you turn in the money, we'll get your name and your size then. I would like everything to be due the next meeting, October 8th, so that way we can get the ball rolling and we can get these sweatshirts out pretty soon. That's the sweatshirts. Okay, upcoming events. Our next meeting is a joint KPA meeting with Gabby, she's a PT student now. She was the vice president last semester of WIKS, and she's gonna talk about her experience and application and everything like that. Tentative date for the BLS class, if that's what it is, I will let everyone know, but it should be a Tuesday or a Thursday, after around 2. We will be doing a kind of like a little social, Monkeys Park, there's spooky yoga. We're gonna wear costumes and just go out there and have fun. They have a photo booth. They do ask that you bring a yoga mat, and that'll be some fun. We'll be out there. And then our last meeting of the semester is our panel meeting. They'll have a PT, OT, chiropractor, and PA. Is there any career that I didn't say that y'all would like someone to represent that I didn't say? No? Okay, then I think we got it covered. Okay. Thank y'all for coming. Please scan this code to get attendance. If you're here to pay your dues, you can go to Chloe over here in the corner. And if you raise any money for Two Unstoppable, she can also give you her Venmo and you can send her the money now. And yeah, that's it.
You wanna mention the fundraiser, like, if you're extending the.
Okay, raise your hand if you have funds from the fundraiser from TikTok. Got one. I think we're gonna extend the date. We can post everything we get on our social medias and we're gonna send it to next post. Is that good? Next meeting, not class.
Please, if you Venmo something, name, C number and what it's for, just for bookkeeping. So I'll send it in the group, my Venmo, that you can send anything to.
I think that's it. You wanna take a picture?
Yay.
Take a picture. Yay. But any public control, please post that stupid on the public. I don't understand why anyone's very much just like for anyone the other day.
We have like an official WIKS phone, or do you want me to just take it and I'll text it to the group?
Yeah, that's.
Okay, great.
Do you want us to return on this? No,
Yeah.
It's a bit, it's. It works. Okay. Code back. I need to.
She just told me, no, she just told me that.
Yeah, we're gonna do your shape.
Let's try to extend any.
I'm like, I'll be back. Sure, you're just to be about.
So you saying that's not a match?
It's just.
On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy New Year.
Yay! Okay, thank y'all so much.
Oh, and you're gonna ask to ask me and I'll do anything. Thank you. Did you read the book on church that you just learned about that thing? I'm very interested. Programming. Look at that. Thank you. I loved your speech. Very interesting.
person teacher. Is anybody moving overall?
Let me to the, because I'm going to find all the actually cool thing. Yeah, I spent most of my life last year.